Eddie Franklin stood quietly in line at the local grocery store, his hands resting on the cart filled with a few essentials. At 72, he had seen many seasons of life, each bringing its own challenges and lessons. His silver hair and weathered face told stories of perseverance, kindness, and resilience. He had lived through difficult times, raising a family, working long hours to provide for his loved ones, and facing the ups and downs of life with a steadfast heart. As Eddie waited patiently, he glanced around the store, noticing how the younger customers seemed to glide effortlessly past him. They were waved ahead, their excited chatter drowning out the hum of everyday life. Despite feeling invisible in that moment, Eddie's spirit remained unbroken. He understood that waiting was just part of life. Sometimes it felt like a lesson in patience. But as time stretched on, Eddie couldn't help but feel a pinch of isolation. The cashier busied herself with other customers, barely sparing him a glance. He thought about how often people overlooked him now, not just in grocery stores but in the world outside. It was a heavy thought carried lightly on his shoulders. Just then, he felt a presence behind him. Turning slightly, he saw Rosa Parks, an icon of courage and civil rights. Though her voice had once inspired many, she now stood quietly behind him, adding her strength to the moment. Eddie felt a flicker of hope at the sight of her. She could change everything with just a few words. In those few moments of silence, Eddie realized that everyone deserves recognition and respect, no matter their age or status. Little did he know that this moment would lead to something profound, not just for him, but for everyone in that store. The atmosphere in the grocery store buzzed with energy, a hum of chatter and laughter echoing off the bright fluorescent lights. Shoppers filled the aisles, their carts clattering along the smooth tile floor. However, standing near the checkout line, Eddie felt an unsettling disconnect. As he glanced around, he noticed young families and groups of friends being acknowledged warmly by staff, waved ahead with bright smiles and friendly chatter. Eddie's heart sank as he realized no one looked his way. The clerk at the register seemed preoccupied, her attention fixed on other customers who hurried past him. He felt like a forgotten ghost in a lively world, lost in a sea of faces that ignored his presence. The excitement around him contrasted sharply with his growing sense of isolation. His cart held just a few simple items: milk, bread, fresh vegetables, but it felt heavy in the moment. Each tick of the clock seemed to stretch longer as Eddie stood there, his thoughts swirling. He held back feelings of frustration and sadness. After all, he was used to waiting. Yet today was different. Today he wanted to be seen. As younger shoppers breezed through without a second glance, Eddie couldn't shake off the feeling that age had rendered him invisible. He remembered how people once treated him with respect and kindness but now seemed oblivious to his existence. It was as if he had become part of the background. Just when Eddie thought the experience could not feel any more isolating, he sensed a presence behind him. He turned to find Rosa Parks standing there with a calm strength that cut through the noise of disregard surrounding them. In that moment, hope began to flicker once again within him, hinting at something meaningful about to unfold. As Eddie stood in line, a wave of frustration washed over him. The lively atmosphere around him felt like a stark contrast to his own emotional state. He watched as young families laughed and chatted, their carts filled with colorful groceries, while he felt like a shadow among them. With each passing moment, the realization that he was invisible grew heavier on his heart. Eddie couldn't help but feel isolated. It wasn't just about waiting for service. It was about being recognized as a person deserving of attention and respect. Each cheerful wave directed at others deepened his sense of neglect, leaving him wondering if age had made him less significant in the eyes of those around him. He remembered a time when people would greet him warmly, sharing smiles and kind words. Now, it seemed those gestures had faded away along with the vibrancy of his youth. His thoughts drifted to broader societal issues, how often the elderly were overlooked in favor of the younger generation. Eddie pondered how society sometimes forgot the wisdom and stories that come with age. This experience at the grocery store made him feel like he was not just waiting for groceries, but also waiting for recognition that seemed increasingly rare. Just then, he noticed Rosa Parks standing behind him, her presence a stark contrast to the indifference he had faced. Her calm determination ignited something within him, a glimmer of hope that perhaps someone still cared about dignity and respect. In that moment, he realized it wasn't just about him. This situation reflected a larger issue of how we see and treat one another in the rush of daily life. Eddie felt an urge to stand tall, knowing that every person deserves acknowledgement, no matter their age or circumstance. As Eddie stood silently in line, he felt the atmosphere shift around him with the arrival of Rosa Parks. Known as a pivotal figure in the American civil rights movement, Rosa was a symbol of courage and determination. Her refusal to give up her seat on a segregated bus in 1955 sparked a wave of activism that would challenge the injustices faced by African Americans across the country. She became an enduring icon of equality, emphasizing the importance of standing up for what is right, no matter the personal cost. Rosa's presence behind Eddie was like a breath of fresh air amidst the stifling silence that had engulfed him. Though she was now in her 90s, her spirit remained unyielding and strong. She understood the struggles of marginalized individuals, having faced discrimination throughout her life. In that moment, she embodied hope and resilience, traits that resonated deeply with Eddie just when he needed them most. As she stood there, Rosa exuded an aura of calm strength that seemed to draw attention without even trying. It was as if she radiated a message: dignity and respect are not merely privileges. They are fundamental rights for every person, regardless of their age or background. The world often forgot this truth, but she never did. Eddie turned slightly to catch a glimpse of Rosa, feeling an inexplicable connection between them. He realized that someone as remarkable as her could have easily chosen to pass by without acknowledgement, just like so many others in the store had done to him. But here she was, ready to speak out for him, not just out of kindness but out of a commitment to justice that defined her entire life. In that moment, he felt seen and valued once again, igniting a spark of hope for everyone who shared similar experiences of being overlooked. As Eddie stood in line, a wave of anticipation washed over him when he sensed Rosa Parks behind him. He didn't know her well, but her reputation as a champion for justice was enough to make him feel a flicker of hope. With a calm demeanor that was both reassuring and powerful, she took a moment to assess the situation. The bustling chatter of the grocery store faded into the background as she focused on the cashier, who was still avoiding eye contact with Eddie. With unwavering determination, Rosa spoke up clearly, her voice firm yet gentle. "He was here before me." The words hung in the air like a beacon of truth, cutting through the indifference that had surrounded Eddie moments before. The effect was immediate. The chatter stopped, and the store fell into an unusual silence. It was as if everyone paused to consider her statement and its implications. The cashier, caught off guard by Rosa's calm assertiveness, stammered an apology, realizing her mistake. Eddie watched in awe as she advocated for him without hesitation. He felt his heart swell, not just with gratitude but with a renewed sense of dignity that had been lacking in those moments of waiting. Rosa's stance was not just about rectifying a small oversight. It was a powerful reminder to everyone present that respect should be given freely, especially to those who often go unnoticed. Her quiet strength resonated deeply with Eddie, and he knew that this moment would stick with him long after he left the store. When the cashier finally turned to help him, Eddie glanced over his shoulder at Rosa and whispered a heartfelt, "Thank you." She returned his gaze with a warm smile and replied softly, "We all deserve to be seen." In that instant, both Eddie and Rosa reaffirmed the importance of standing up for what is right, inspiring everyone around them without even trying. As Rosa Parks spoke those simple yet profound words, "He was here before me," a powerful silence enveloped the grocery store. The lively sounds of chatter, laughter, and cartwheels came to an abrupt halt, replaced by a hush that resonated with the weight of her statement. It was as if time itself had paused, allowing everyone present to absorb the significance of what she had just said. Eddie felt the shift around him. The atmosphere was charged with a new energy. The other customers turned their heads, curiosity written across their faces. In that moment, the bustling store transformed into a space of collective reflection. No longer focused solely on their own tasks, people began to consider the implications of Rosa's words and what they meant for Eddie. The cashier, taken aback by the sudden attention and the gravity of Rosa's assertion, stammered out an apology. Her earlier indifference washed away in the tide of realization. As she rushed to assist Eddie, it became clear that Rosa's courage had sparked something in everyone there, a growing acknowledgement of the importance of respect and recognition for every individual. This silence was not just a pause, it was an awakening. Shoppers who had been absorbed in their own worlds now stood united in a shared understanding of dignity. They collectively grasped that each person in the store, including Eddie, deserved to be seen and valued. Eddie's heart swelled as he felt this newfound awareness wash over the crowd. In that instant, he knew that Rosa's actions extended beyond his personal experience. They resonated deeply within each person present. It was a gentle but powerful reminder that standing up for one another has the power to create ripples of change, inspiring respect and compassion in everyday interactions. This moment would linger in their minds long after they left the store, encouraging them to carry this lesson forward into their lives. The moment Rosa Parks spoke up for Eddie, the cashier's demeanor shifted dramatically. Initially caught off guard by the unexpected silence that enveloped the store, she blinked rapidly, her mind racing to process what had just happened. The gravity of Rosa's words struck her with a force that made her stomach churn. She realized that she had overlooked Eddie, an elderly man waiting patiently while others rushed ahead. Stammering, the cashier finally found her voice. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to," she began, her cheeks flushing with embarrassment as she fumbled for words. The sound of her apology broke through the silence, but only added to the weight of the moment. It was clear she felt the pressure of the eyes upon her. Customers were now watching intently, their own expressions a mixture of surprise and understanding. With a quick breath, the cashier regained her composure and turned her full attention to Eddie. "Let me help you right away," she said, her tone shifting from nervousness to urgency. She moved efficiently to ring up his items, her hands steadying as she focused on making things right for him. The previous indifference was gone, replaced by a sincere desire to rectify her earlier oversight. As Eddie placed his groceries on the counter, he could feel the change in energy around him. The customers who once seemed preoccupied were now engaged, their expressions reflecting a newfound awareness of dignity and respect for everyone present. The atmosphere in the store had transformed from one of casual disregard to a supportive community moment. Eddie felt grateful not only for the cashier's immediate effort but also for Rosa's powerful reminder that standing up for one another could make a difference. As he finished checking out, he sensed that this experience would leave an imprint on everyone involved, a subtle yet profound shift that would encourage each person to carry forward a heightened sense of compassion in their daily lives. As Eddie finished paying for his groceries, he turned to look at Rosa Parks, who stood just a step away. The weight of the moment felt profound. It was as if they had shared a silent understanding that went beyond words. Eddie's heart swelled with gratitude, and he felt compelled to express his appreciation for her courage. "Thank you," he whispered, each syllable filled with sincerity. His voice was soft but clear, a heartfelt acknowledgement of the impact she had made in just a few moments. To Eddie, Rosa was not just an icon but a real person who cared about others and stood up for what was right, even in the simplest situations. Rosa turned to him, her face breaking into a warm, reassuring smile. "We all deserve to be seen," she replied gently, her words wrapping around him like a comforting blanket. It was more than just a response. It was a reminder of their shared humanity and the significance of recognition in everyday encounters. Eddie held her gaze for a moment, feeling an unexpected bond form between them. Here was a woman who had spent her life advocating for equality and justice, yet she took the time to advocate for him in a grocery store line. Her actions reinforced the belief that compassion should permeate all aspects of life, no matter how small the setting. As he walked away from the register, Eddie felt an uplifting sense of hope and validation. The brief connection with Rosa sparked within him a determination to treat others with that same respect and recognition he had received. In that fleeting moment, both Eddie and Rosa became reminders to each other, and those around them that every individual's presence matters, and that standing up for one another can create ripples of change in the world. As the warm moment of gratitude lingered in the air, Eddie looked earnestly into Rosa's eyes, sensing the depth of her wisdom and kindness. She had not only seen him in that moment but had also reminded everyone present, including himself, of the fundamental right to be acknowledged and respected as a human being. Rosa's response, "We all deserve to be seen," resonated with a quiet power that sent ripples through Eddie's heart. Each word was infused with her lifelong commitment to justice and equality for all people. It was a philosophy she had lived out on countless stages throughout her life, and now she was sharing it in such a simple yet profound way. Eddie felt a surge of inspiration flood his spirit. Her words were more than just an affirmation, they were a call to action for every individual in that grocery store. It was a reminder that recognition should not be reserved for the young or the engaged. Everyone, regardless of age, race, or circumstance, deserved to feel valued and seen. The significance of this encounter stretched beyond their immediate interaction. It spoke volumes about the importance of community and support among individuals. Eddie realized that Rosa's advocacy extended far beyond him. It served as an invitation for others to notice those who might be overlooked in their daily lives. As he turned to leave, Eddie carried Rosa's message deep within him. He felt motivated not only to stand up for himself but also to extend compassion and recognition to others who might feel lost or invisible in the world. In that moment of connection with Rosa Parks, he understood that standing together could create waves of change, fostering an environment where every person feels they matter and can make a difference simply by being seen. The encounter in the grocery store left an indelible mark on both Eddie Franklin and Rosa Parks. For Eddie, the moment became a reaffirmation of his worth as an individual deserving of respect and recognition. The feeling of being seen, not just by Rosa but by everyone in that store, shifted something inside him. He walked away with a renewed sense of dignity, inspired to ensure that others never felt invisible like he once did. Eddie decided that he would carry Rosa's message into his everyday life, committing himself to look out for those who might be overlooked or forgotten. He began to engage more deeply with his community, striking up conversations with neighbors, volunteering at local organizations, and making it a point to acknowledge the elderly members of his community who often faced neglect. Each small interaction was Eddie's way of spreading kindness, and each smile shared brought warmth not only to others but also to himself. For Rosa Parks, this seemingly simple act of standing up for another person reinforced her belief in the power of everyday kindness. She often reminded people through her work that change starts with individuals taking responsibility for their actions. This incident reminded her that even small interactions could create waves of compassion and inspire further action within others. Rosa realized that her commitment to justice and equality extended beyond grand gestures or historic moments. It flourished in everyday encounters where people supported one another. After leaving the store, she reflected on how this moment exemplified her life's work, to cultivate an environment where all people feel valued. Both Eddie and Rosa departed from that day changed, their paths intertwined in a way that showcased the beauty of human connection. They each understood that standing up for others isn't just about challenging injustice in larger arenas. It starts with recognizing and valuing every individual in our daily lives, planting seeds of compassion wherever they went.